What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Rival Banter. I'm your host, Hoagie, alongside my esteemed co-host, BookishPappy. Seth, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing well. Another week, another show. It should be
Mm-hmm,
episode 1.5 because we're going to be talking about season 1.5 today. But man, episode 1 was good. How'd you feel getting back into the swing of things with in the podcasting world after last week's episode?
I felt good. Definitely, different. But definitely felt like home a little bit. You know what I mean?
I know, getting back into it. I mean, it's been what, 5 years, 6 years since you and I have done a show together. So so yeah, I'm good. I've cleaned up the office behind me. I've got some of my cool knickknacks and stuff behind me. It's all like Overwatch, and there's some Pokemon and stuff behind there. Also, a bust of the old head coach of the Golden Guardians that I used to work with, Nick Smith, that we 3D printed for a piece of content that we did back
That's what
then.
you want.
Yeah, that's who I want to see added to Marvel Rivals in the next batch. A Nick Smith character, only appealing to me. But for the uninitiated, this is Rival Banter, a show all about Marvel Rivals, and we stream it live over here on twitch.tv/itishoagie on Tuesdays. It's 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern right now. We're still figuring out a good time for the show, but I think this is a good time. This gives us a solid hour and a half to talk about the stuff that we need to talk about, and so we'll let people know if the times change and or what have you. But for now, 5:30 seems to be the time we might stick with moving forward. But if you don't catch us live, you can catch us on podcast services everywhere the very next day. And we're actually on them now, Seth. We're over on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts.
Hey.
We're on, Podbean. We're on iHeartRadio. We're, on all the things. And wherever you're listening to us, first of all, thank you. Second of all, leave us a review. We had close to a combined 100 listens on our podcast between all of the platforms last week. So that's pretty awesome between YouTube and all of our podcast services. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. The show's only going to get better from here. Like I said, it's been 5 years since Seth and I have done a show together. So we're getting back into the swing of this shit. So it's only gonna grow. It's only gonna get better. I want us to do some cool things. I've got some cool games planned out. I'm coming in hot this week, so we're not going to be doing those things this week. But next week, I've got some cool stuff planned. This week is all going to be dedicated to Season 1.5. But before we get into that, Seth, I want to talk to you about your week in Marvel Rivals. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. How was your week in Marvel Rivals?
Well, there were ups and downs. I'm, comp-wise, I'm pretty much exactly where I left off last week. I raised it up a little bit. Plat 3, baby, and then went back down. I hit a new low at Gold 1 again yesterday, but managed to find my way somehow into Plat 3 again.
Well, wait a second. The Plat is new from the last episode.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I wasn't Plat last week when the show started, right? So we made it to Plat at least.
Yeah, we were on stream when you made it to Plat, but it was just a regular gaming stream. So
Gotcha,
the newly crowned platinum BookishPappy here on stream. It feels good, man, doesn't it? Seeing that nice board.
It's good to be part of the club. I want to hit the Diamond Club now, but we've got to get out of Plat 3 Club first before we do anything else.
Yeah. I briefly made it to the Diamond Club for a moment, and then I lost 2 straight. And then I lost 3 more after the 2 straight, resulting in 5.
Oh, so you stayed on. I thought you were getting off last night.
No. Well, I lost those first 2, and then we lost 3 more, remember? And then
me and
you lost 5 straight together. And so I'm back down in Plat 1. So no longer in Diamond. But we almost.
You'll be back. You'll be back.
I will be back. I don't know, man. Comp is funny. I feel like I'm trying to shift my mindset when it comes to comp to really start to think about okay, what can I do better? And I think one of the things is just how can I stay alive more, right? As a support, I obviously can't heal from spawn. So if I'm dying a lot, then I'm not doing my job as effectively. And while it is on my DPS to be able to peel and stuff for me. It's also on me to like manage my cooldowns, be able to stay alive a little bit more. And I feel like the times I go on really good win streaks are the times where I'm really being conscious about like not dying, right? And really
Weird
like,
how that works, right? Like just the objective of the game, don't die. Die as little as possible. Play the video game.
yeah, play the video game, you know. But like I ended up turning off like team chat this week because I'm like, look, all the necessary information that can be communicated in this game can be communicated via pings, and all the team chat does is just tilt me, and also gets me on the borderline of getting banned myself. So I just turned that off as well, you know. And I'm just trying to get into this mindset where, number one, like, it's just a game, nobody's life is on the line, and number two, like, I'm just going to control what I can control, right? So I've been feeling a little tank, I've been playing a little Penny Parker, been playing a little Magneto, you know. And I feel like we've had some success in some games where I've been playing some Penny Parker.
Oh, for sure. For sure, some of our best games, actually. I mean, as long as you know your job, you know what I mean. Like that's this game is like every role has a job. We don't want too many people doing the same job. That's called over specialization, and it's a problem in the workforce.
You work at a
So we
school. How
don't.
many English teachers are there? You know, they're not all English teachers. There's some math teachers. There's some history teachers.
They do teach math, and they do teach science or whatever else, and you know, I don't know.
Science.
Scientific methodology. They teach. They do a great job, but I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's just people want to play what they want to play, and I think that's the biggest issue that people run into with these games. It's like, yes, you're playing the game, you're having a great time. You start to lose. Why do we need tanks at all? Why don't we just jump into a 4 heals 2 DPS? What could possibly go wrong? That was just a rant. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, but it's honestly that like it's that flexibility that look, for some people that are aim gods that are just going to be able to go in there, force their way into DPS and carry games, like they're going to climb regardless, right? But there's going to be a lot of other people who aren't those people who are just going to force DPS, and they're going to stay silver their entire Marvel Rivals career, and they're just, they're just going to be happy down there. And the difference between the people that are going to stay silver and the people that are going to climb are the people that are going to be willing to flex into the roles that need to be filled on their team, that are willing to say, oh shit, like somebody else insta-lock support, so I'm going to go play tank, you know? And so learning a couple different comfort characters in each of the roles. I mean, there's been a couple games over the last week where we've needed a DPS character, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to like play Moon Knight or play Iron Man or something like that. I'm like, just
yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stretch myself too, especially I've been having so much fun. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point with the thing. So I'm trying to, I've already played some tank. Thor's definitely one of my guys, but having the thing in there and just as much fun as he is, to kind of give me something else to try to do, where I actually kind of enjoy it, even when I'm in the thick of like a comp manager like that. But we can hang on to that for later when we get a little deeper into the 1.5 talk.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think for everybody's sake, like if climbing is something that you're really interested in doing, look, if you just want to play this game and have fun, play the character you want to play. Like if you're just like, man, I really love Hela. I can't tell you what game, like what franchise Hela's even from, but like if you're just like, I really like Hela, I'm gonna go play Hela. Go play Hela to your heart's content. But if you really are interested in climbing, my number one piece of advice is just learn a character or two in every single role and be willing to flex. Don't be so wooden in your approach to this game. So
she's Thor's sister, by the way.
Oh, so she's not even from Marvel. She's from what's Thor? Greek? No.
Norse mythology.
Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Interesting. Which is what the history teachers at CES school
they taught history back when we were in high school.
But yeah, no. No, I had a fun week in Marvel though. I mean, getting to Diamond was fun. Seeing that little pop up on my screen, and falling out of Diamond, I just have to remind myself I'm going to get that moment again. I'm going to get that moment again of seeing that Diamond promotion screen pop up one more again, but hopefully just one more time, and then I can stay there for good. But
Then it's Grandmasters, baby.
then it's on to GM. We also had a fun little time this weekend playing with a six stack of some people, and we tried some like six support stacks. We tried some six tank stacks. We tried some six DPS stacks, and it's honestly probably the most fun I've had with the game.
That was just good, honest fun. It was, of course, in quick play.
Yes.
But I mean, just like way back in the day, I don't know if we mentioned on the last show, but we were Overwatchers back in Overwatch 1. We used to run teams with like all May before they had any kind of roll queue or roll locks in there. And it was just a blast. So this really reminded me of that. We ran 6 healers, dominated. It kind of shows you like what is a meta. 6 DPS, dominated. 6 tanks, dominated. And then I think when the game mode shifted, I think we played Convergence or Convoy, and that was a little bit trickier to run those weird comps. But it was definitely a blast. It was honest, good-hearted fun.
Why do you think domination was a little more effective running those comps?
I think it's the movement aspect. Because I mean, it's a little easier, I guess, to group up and make point when the point is static.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, I don't know. It's easy. It's just as easy to group up when the point is moving too, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel like the landscape a little bit better, I guess. And so it's when you're not worried about navigating different corners, different chokes, that kind of thing. I guess maybe it makes it a little bit more manageable. It may have just been that we faced some really crappy teams running those comps, and then we finally hit one that kind of knew what they were doing. But I don't know. Like I said, we were having fun even when we were losing those quick play games, like that quick play game. We only lost one with our weird comp, but it was still a blast. I think we still had some fun with it.
Honestly, the 6 support one was the most surprising to me. But when you think about it, I mean, there's some support characters that put out pretty good damage. I mean,
Cloak and Dagger, when you're playing that Cloak, I mean, he's like a Scarlet Witch, he's got that good, Spider-Man counter, Moon Knight counter. He's pretty strong, or I guess he in that case is pretty strong against DPS, and a lot of those skybound characters too, like Storms and whatnot. So as long as they don't get too high up, I mean, you can just burn through them like butter.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, are you ready to deep dive into season 1.5? We got a ton to talk about, tons of changes.
All right, let's go for it.
All right. Well, let's start with the 2 new characters, because I know you were fallen deeply in love with the Thing. So let's talk about the Thing and Human Torch and kind of our initial thoughts, both just design wise, but also how we feel like they're fitting currently in both the meta in our rank where we're playing, and then I know we also have had a little bit of a chance to watch some higher level play recently. So you've played a lot more the Thing. I think I've played a lot more Human Torch. So what's your thoughts on the Thing so far?
Yeah, so I've played 0 Human Torch just to set the tone. I'm sure he's fun. I just have not had the urge to play him. He just looks like he's not my kind of character, but I will definitely touch on him at some point. Feel on him, whatever, you know what I mean? The Thing,
I don't think either of those are the correct option.
Whatever, man. It is what it be. But the Thing is exactly my kind of character, and that can be to my detriment. That can be to my team's detriment if I'm not careful. I think you've seen in the little bit that we've played together where I'm running the Thing, I can be really good at taking space and knowing exactly when to do that. It can be really easy, though, to get carried away and just Leroy Jenkins that motherfucker and just get in there. You just run in and there you are. And again, especially when you're charging with that right bumper that I forget the name of the move. It's not the haymaker, but what is it? The something street, Yancey Street?
Yeah, something like
whatever
that.
It is. And you just boom, it's so easy to get caught up in the power. And he is really simple to use. I mean, he's a 1-star character, so he's got that. Some people might call him like a no-skill character almost, because you can really just lay on that haymaker over and over again if you want to play him that way. But I think if you can like get those combos down, and do like the 1-2, the haymaker, the pound, and then kind of manage that Yancey Street cooldown, he is just a blast. So like I immediately bought the skin for him because I knew I would be playing the hell out of him, and it just looks badass. I'm into it. He and Thor are my two tanks right now. Whenever I'm either forced or wanting to play that role, that's what I'm going for.
So you bought the trench coat skin, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So let me pull that up real quick, or right quick here.
Oh, it's gorgeous. The noir, I think it's called. Forget if it's something, if it's just noir or if it's like some specific term along.
Hold on, dude. My computer is acting crazy here. Oh no. Hold on.
Computer, stop it.
Well, my computer is currently not recognizing the right monitor as my second monitor here, so I will not be pulling it up. Let me actually do this. Properties. Capture method. Display. And we want this one. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there she is.
Here he is, the thing. Dude, I do like this skin. I think the thing also has the second, probably the worst skin in the game as well. He's got like a 600 unit like just like recolor of his trunks that turn them just all blue, I think, or something like that. But
yeah, I think it kind of matches like the there's a similar alternate skin for the other Fantastic Four characters. I think I know Invis has one.
Yeah, so. Yeah, but for some reason it just seems way cheaper on the thing. Maybe it's just because they take up such little real estate on his gigantic rock body.
That makes sense. I mean, it's just a pair of shorts, like it's a Speedo.
One thing I like about the thing is his passive, with his whole like inability to be displaced by a lot of the different CC in the game. Is that something you really like feel the difference when you're playing him? Because I played maybe like 3 games as the thing, and one was in a game with 6 DPS, so against 6 DPS, so it felt really bad.
It's something I kind of forget to think about, and I guess that's a good thing because I mean I'm just not worried about it necessarily. But I mean it definitely does come into play. You're not feeling that same pushback. You're not getting pulled. I think where I've been back and forth between like him and Cloak and Dagger, for example. Some of those games last night we were playing where I'm playing Cloak or Dagger. I started getting just yoinked to a Winter Soldier and just popped in the head, boom, boom. And I'm like, why does this keep happening? And I'm thinking it's like, oh, well, maybe I'm just kind of in that tanky thing mindset where I just cannot be moved. Mm-hmm. And so maybe a little bit of that bleeds over when I'm kind of not really consciously playing as much as I should be.
And it's also like he can be stopped, but so like I play Invisible Woman, right? So she's got her like psionic shove or whatever, and so I use that all the time on tanks who are just kind of running at me. And with the thing, it stops him, but it doesn't like knock him back, right? So it stops him in his tracks. But I don't know. I think that's a really cool passive for him, and I would love to see kind of more playing around with tanks in terms of how they interact with CC in the game. One thing I wish NetEase would have learned from the early days of Overwatch was maybe the like prevalence of some of the hard CC that was in the game in Overwatch 1, and how annoying it was, because there seems to be a lot of hard CC in Marvel Rivals, so I'd like to see a little more counterplay like that, and I think the thing's passive is a nice little step in the right direction with some of that, but yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really clear already, not just from the fact that he's new and getting picked a lot, but just from the fact that like as I've gotten into Plat and as I've been watching like higher level play and I see more like the thing getting picked and banned also, like he's one of the stronger tanks already in the meta too, right? Like he's established himself as one of the top tanks in the game so far because of his ability to control space. He's got a lot of really great stun. His ultimate is a fight changer as well. Did we really even talk about his ultimate very much? Like,
Not tonight. No, I mean it's definitely. I mean, I'm trying to work on my timing to where I can get it just right to have it as that clutch ult on a convoy or like a convergence mission where I'm just like it's that moment, it's OT, and then last second just pop it. Maybe combine it with like a Yancey Street slam or whatever, and just get everybody off the point, clear it, win the game. But I haven't. Something always tends to go wrong. I don't have the hands I used to have back, in the early aughts.
well, his ult is a lot like Strange's, just in the sense of like having an awareness of where the supports are when you're casting it, because you really have to find the supports and target them with the stun to win the fight, right? And what I'm seeing too many thing players do is they throw their ults out and then they're like trying to beat up on the Magneto in the front line who's stunned. Where it's like, no, like take out the cloak and dagger in the back line that you just said, because it's like a 2 or 3 second stun that you get off of the ult. Like,
Yeah, for sure. And I think like I know I get the urge all the time too. I'm like, especially if there's another thing, I'm like, I want to beat that motherfucker. I want to get him out. But and, that's the fun side. If you're thinking strategically, definitely use that to your advantage. If there's one moment where like those two healers converge, or even three healers, whatever, it's the perfect opportunity. I mean, you can do probably two of those haymakers in that 3 seconds, and probably get the whole squad.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think another thing with the thing, um, one thing I really like about Marvel's map design is there's a lot of really like restricted choke points on most of the maps, most of like the convergence and convoy maps, and I think with the thing and his ult ability, it really rewards you for playing strategically around those choke points, right? And you get so much more value out of his ultimate if you're funneling the enemy team into those chokes.
Oh
And
yeah, I mean it's limiting the space for sure.
yeah. So yeah, I like the way you play him. You play him really aggressively, and I think if having a team up with like Invisible Woman and all, like you have a team up with the strongest healer in the game right now. Like I think he's a must pick character in comp right now. If you're wanting to win games, I think he's going to be a solid character in the meta for a while now. I think his ultimate is game changing. I love his design. I was a little underwhelmed, to be honest, with the Human Torch though, and kind of his his impactfulness and his usefulness just as kind of a solo DPS, like his individual impact. I think he has a lot of great impact as like a team player, but
When Storm's around.
when Storm's around, I think it well, we'll get to that in a second because I
Okay.
do have some thoughts there, but like let's just talk about like his standard kind of fare of DPS output before he gets his ultimate. So you have your primary fire and your secondary fire. Your primary fire, you're just shooting fireballs, right? Your secondary fire, you do like damage over time, tick damage, and then you can chain those things together and kind of do like area denial by forming like firewalls, which is really cool for like space denial when teams are playing in chokes. And you can also dive bomb into your secondary fire to create like a bigger AoE kind of burst damage, which is really good. You can actually run some pretty good combos against like backline squishy targets, like you can dive supports and like kind of 2 or 3 tap them to take them out of fights. And so I think when I was first starting to play Johnny, you kind of play him a little bit more like you start to try to play him a little more like Iron Man, where you're just like trying to pump consistent damage in. Where in reality, you really need to be a little more strategic with your positioning. Try to get to the back line, and run that combo of like primary fire, secondary fire, dive bomb, and then kill them with your primary fire off of that.
He kind of reminds me of a more stable Spider-Man in some ways. Like, if you play him a certain way or play him, I don't know if right term, but he's kind of like he's got a little bit of sniper to him. He's got a little ability. He's just I could see him.
Oh,
Are we frozen?
yeah, you lagged there for just a second on me. Are you back now?
I think I'm a little blurry on my screen, but
Oh, I'm also hearing your audio twice. Oh, can you make sure you're muted in the link that I sent you? I think that might be the issue.
I'm not.
Sorry, guys, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can. All right, go for it again.
All right.
Spider-Man. Oh no.
The internet.
Oh, guys, this is bad. We're doomed.
It's a little better now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I just had a little surge. It seemed like it happened last time too. It may just be.
Yeah. And it was right around this time too. All right, go for it. Spider-Man.
So yeah, I mean, he's got a little bit of sniper to him. He's got a little bit of Spider-Man to him with that dive capability. He's got potential. I think he might. I don't. I hate to say it, that DPS needs a buff, but I mean, most of the time when I'm playing against one, I'm almost like I don't notice him unless he's just really good. I'll walk around, I'll kind of get a little bit of burn damage, but it's not really. It's just whatever's lying on the ground. Um, so again, I don't know if that's. I just haven't run into many people that have figured him out. But again, like most of the time, unless he's with that storm, I don't really know or care much that he's there.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are trying to play him as like a run up the damage numbers kind of thing, and he's more of a final blows DPS. You're right. He's more of the Spider-Man kind of guy where you're like trying to get in and out of the fight, take out the your target, get out of there, get back to your healers, um and so I think it took me a little bit of time to figure that out. And when you start playing him more along those lines, it starts to feel a little bit better. But I think the other thing, I think the other thing with him is just uh, the area denial, right? In the utility of him, and especially when like he's really frustrating to play against when you're Invisible Woman and you're trying to like use your invisibility to like sustain a little bit and like get away, but you can establish some pretty big fire fields with him. And if you take even a slightest bit of tick damage, you lose your invisibility as Invisible Woman and things like that. So and if you have a good idea of where the team's going to be coming from on, say, like, well, any map, but like like on a domination map where there might be 4 or 5 different routes to getting to the point, if you know where the team's going to come from, you can set up some damage areas and really start to put in a little bit of pre-work before the fight gets started, and start to force out some cooldowns. So I think he has a little bit more utility than he does necessarily just like pure raw burst damage output, right? And so also appreciate everybody tuning in and hitting that like button over on TikTok and stuff. Thank you guys. If you're watching wherever you're watching us, make sure drop questions, drop your thoughts on what we're talking about, what your thoughts are on the thing, and Human Torch, those sorts of things. So yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. But I will say this: I think his ultimate, in and of itself, ass. It's super easy to avoid. You're setting up just kind of like static tornadoes, and his secondary fire is just replaced by these by the fire tornadoes. It's just better space denial, but it's not super impactful. Paired with Storm's ult, though, it's essentially uncounterable. It kills
God tier.
Yeah, it's God tier. It kills Luna Snow through her ult. Like, it kills every support through their ult, basically. And at first I was a little frustrated by it because I'm like, what's the counterplay here? Like, this, it makes no sense for this to not have counterplay. But and it made me mad. But then I took a step back. I'm like, wait a minute. If a team is having to time and invest 2 DPS ults into this fight, I think it makes a little bit of sense for that investment to not really have much counterplay outside of just like get the hell away from it, right? Because I mean, if I'm going to counter like a Star-Lord ult with a Luna Snow ult, that makes sense for that to be an equal trade. It doesn't make a lot of sense for it to be an equal trade that I can just like heal through Storm and Human Torch through my one Luna Snow ult, right? So I think I calmed down a little bit from that nightmare. But
Yeah, I mean, you still want to have. There's got to be something though, because I mean, that's kind of like it reminds me of the Jeff the Shark ult when the game first launched. You know, like there's got to be, and maybe people are going to start figuring it out soon. There's got to be some kind of way around it. Like I don't know. Whenever I hear a storm ult coming, I try to just get inside of a building or something like that. You know, or some small area where she's not going to quite get to me. But I mean, that's when it's like overtime and that last second, if those two are able to launch that ult at the same time, I mean, that's game over. Much like, you know, those big ass shark whirlpools back when the game first launched. So I don't know. There's got to be something. And if not, I mean, again, I don't know. You've definitely got a great point there that is a big investment for two people, and it takes some coordination too to be able to do it at the same time. So. And it's a problem to be solved, but I mean, again, it's just definitely something different.
yeah, I don't know what the counterplay could be because with Jeff, it really, I mean, there was no change with Jeff's ult that I know of, right? It was just people figured out how to play around it. Maybe we just haven't figured out how to play around it.
Yeah, you know, it's that audio cue. You start hearing the shark before it's the Jaws thing. You hear the shark before you see the whirlpool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One other thing with the introduction of Human Torch with the Iron Man buffs, with Storm still being a strong character, and this is a conversation I've seen over on the Marvel Rivals subreddit. I've seen it over on like Blue Sky. I'm interested to see your thoughts. There's a lot of flying characters, and there's very little non-DPS counterplay to the flying characters, especially within the tank lineup. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean that definitely is true. You really have to have. I mean, you got to have another semi-flying DPS pretty much to really get to them. I think we mentioned earlier, like you know, Cloak and Dagger. When you're playing Cloak, you that's kind of in the support lane. Like that's a pretty solid counter. Both of them can deal some damage with that auto lock on Dagger, or like you know just the drain from Cloak. Um, Other than that, I mean, tank wise, no. I mean, there's nothing really anything you can do. I've noticed, you know, Thing has a little bit more of a punch, I guess, as long as you're in kind of like an indoor area, because I've noticed that it has a little bit of reach to it. It kind of reaches past the extension of his arm. And so it kind of seems like it pushes a little bit forward. So I've gotten some Iron Man, I've gotten some Storms that way. But when they start getting up there high and they're just pumping, they're just splashing you like ticking away at your damage. No, there's not a lot you can do when you're that tank unless you just have super good aim.
I've seen some like Stranges get up there and try to like
That's
fly
true.
up
Yeah,
and do some
yeah.
shit, but like outside of that, yeah, like
But it's limited too. Like there's only you've got what 11 seconds or something like that.
yeah, it's not very
And then
much.
you've got to have the aim on top of that too to be able to keep it up.
And it just feels bad, especially if you're running up against all three in the same comp, and you're like, I mean, you play a lot more tank than I do, right? But like, if I'm rolling out there as the Thing, I've got Storm, Johnny, and Iron Man all pouring in damage from different angles at me, and I have nothing to do. Like, I don't know, man. I hope we see like a hit scan tank, or a tank with some sort of like limited flying ability coming into the game at some point. Or I love the DPS characters that have like the no limit flying abilities. I don't want to see anything change with Iron Man or Storm or Johnny in the sense of like limiting their ability to fly, because this is a game about superheroes, and flying is what makes superheroes. So don't change that shit, but give me some solid counterplay in each of the classes, because yeah.
Sam Wilson, Captain America. We've got Cap as a tank already. That Falcon Captain, he's got the wings. Just get him up there, let him take care of business.
War
Boom, right after
Machine.
play, that's who we need. War Machine. Oh, now, yeah, I guess he could be a tank. So you've got sometimes the kind of scrawny, regular War Machines, but then, yeah, you've definitely got those kind of beefier ones. Maybe even like a Hulkbuster Iron Man, but he may be a little bit too big. I don't know. But you definitely some options there.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely characters in the Marvel universe uh that can work. Doc Ock, I think you could even,
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like bring out there. He's like scaling buildings and then just coming out there like poking people with his claws and stuff. Like, you
I
know,
can only imagine. Yeah,
maybe even like Venom could get some tweaks to his kit to give him some better abilities to get up to characters in the sky. I would love to see. I saw somebody. I'm not going to take credit for this idea as my own. I saw somebody on Reddit talking about this, but giving Hulk a bigger hurt box on his jump to where he can like pull people out of the sky jumping at them, I think would be cool. Like I would just like to see a little bit more counterplay in the Vanguard class for flying characters because yeah, I think I shouldn't have to always just be concerned that like, oh, that I'm gonna get a Bucky or a Hela or like, somebody in a DPS class like that's gonna play a hit scan to try to deal with this, or like give me some counterplay that I can take on myself.
yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Uh, let's move on. Let's talk about Central Park, the new map that looks nothing like Central Park. It looks more like Transylvania. um, what are your thoughts on this map? What were your initial thoughts? And now that we've played on it now for a week, what are your thoughts? Well, a little less than a week.
I was definitely excited to see it. It's got a cool and kind of different idea. Like you said, it's kind of surprising to see like some of that more deep cut Marvel lore that prominent in this game right off the bat with some of these maps and some of these characters. So definitely fun. Definitely some cool ideas going on. I do really like the map. I think there are some things that um, are cool in theory that are a little frustrating to play. Like I don't know how many times I've gotten caught up like um, when those like bridges or like big
Mm-hmm.
arches are reconstructing and I was on the ground and then all of a sudden like in a crucial fight I'm upstairs locked in into a room pretty much and I've got to find my way back down to the fight and hope that it's not over. So little things like that I'm not sure how much of that is like thoughtful game design versus how much of that is kind of like a little buggy um, issue that needs to get worked out. But because nothing else really does that when usually it's just like a wall comes back, turns green before it comes back. It's not going to really interrupt your game necessarily all that much. But it is fun. I love playing it as the thing, kind of rushing around some of those corners. There are some fun chokes in there. But overall, I mean, I'm pleased with it. Could there be some things that I like a little more? Maybe. But it's definitely a great addition.
Yeah, I agree with the like map change stuff. I think in concept it's really cool. Like this idea that like, oh, we're kind of rebuilding this castle as we're progressing through the map. Um, I think in its execution, it leaves a little bit to be desired. I think it's impossible to like test every single interaction at all times. I think there have been weird situations where you're standing in a part of the map and like you're kind of getting teleported through different parts and it gets like laggy and
Oh, sure, yeah.
so all that's kind of weird. The map to me feels a little oddly balanced just in the sense of like what side is favored at various different points. I feel like offense on point A is really easy. Like you get one kill and you're basically going to win that point. Like I think offense is a little harder on the first half of point B to get through that first choke, to get out of the like that arena. um and then it gets easier as you're going to the castle to cap point B. But then
If you play that first point right, right?
yeah, yeah. But then offense is really, really hard up those steps on point C.
Mm.
And I think it really favors defense. Like, I think we played a game last night where we played pretty shitty defense, like as a team, and we still took them to overtime, and they had like 3.5 minutes to cap. point
Yeah,
C.
yeah. And
Um,
honestly, I mean, I tried. I messed it up. I think I fell off those stairs running a cloak hold, trying to be fancy. But I'll take the blame for that one. But yeah, well, we still held it. We still, had a pretty. It was still winnable, if nothing else.
yeah, I don't necessarily know if that's like a criticism that I'm giving. Like, I don't know if it's a bad thing for like the map to favor certain sides at certain times or whatever. Like, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be a full like 50-50 split, even benefit down the chute. I think it just takes time for teams to learn where the benefit lies for them. And I think what we're experiencing right now is the frustration of teams not knowing when they have the advantage, right? Like, if you're on defense on point, like after, like on defense point B, right at the beginning of that defense on point B, and you're defending that choke coming right out of point A, that choke is so valuable, right? Like that choke right there is uh so easy to defend if you just stay on the correct side of it. You have such good access to cover, to your healing, and figuring that out.
So you mean if you don't run to spawn right from the get go?
Yeah, if you don't try to spawn camp the other the other team, yeah, yeah. But I don't know, man. Like, I think Overwatch tries to do the more like 50-50 balance of on the map of like, okay, offense and defense need to have like equal opportunity at all times on the map, whereas Marvel I think is a little less um, you know, worried about that. Do you have a preference there? Like do you
I mean,
care?
do I have a preference offense versus defense on that map?
Well, no, do you have a preference on like would you rather are you okay with feeling like okay, like I'm okay if defense is a little easier here and a little harder here?
I mean, yeah. I think that every map has that to some degree or another. It's definitely that's kind of the whole point of convergence. I think in general is you've got that forced fight there at that static point, and then comes the push. And so yeah, I mean, I definitely think it adds. It's what makes it different, I guess, from a regular convoy game or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, where you're just pushing that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um. Overall, though, I'm pretty pleased with it. I wish teams were a little bit more creative on offense on point A. I think you're always trying to push that main choke. I think there's a couple alternate routes to get to that point that I wish teams would experiment with a little bit more. um, but but yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with the new map. I think uh, the offense point C spawn is a cool idea with the little like teleporters. Um,
Yeah,
where Blade's being held.
yeah. It took me a second to figure that out. At least a couple matches. Probably longer than it should have. But all of a sudden, oh snap! There, my friends are there. I'm here. It kind of adds a little extra bit of coordination for really effective teams to have to, something to keep in mind as you're playing the map. And I like that kind of stuff. It keeps the game fresh from map to map.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What would you give it on a grade scale,
God, more
Mr. Martin?
grading. I think I don't know. I mean, I'm not in love with it. I think it's a solid 8, somewhere around there. I mean, if it didn't have some of those little buggy issues, and I don't know, I'm going to give it an 8. That's my gut reaction right now. What do you think?
I was gonna give it like a 6.5 because
Okay.
I'm because of the bugs and because I'm not a huge fan of like the overweight of like defense is like heavily favored here, offense is heavily favored here. Like I wish there was a little bit more balance in terms of the side that you're on at any given time. So, but yeah, 6.5. Visually though, it's awesome. I think the map looks
Yeah,
great. So
yeah.
it's definitely my
It's
vibe.
got a lot. It's got a lot going on for it. It's pretty distinct from anything else. As far as balance goes, I mean, isn't that kind of a balance in and of itself, though? Like, it's different sides are favored kind of at different points. I mean,
I mean, I think so, but I think there's if it's 60-40, I think that's one thing, right?
Okay.
But I think there are times where it feels like 80-20. Like those stairs feel like 80-20 defense to offense. And
Yeah,
like
yeah, I could say that.
and I think point A sometimes feels 80-20 to the offense. Like if you get a kill, you're going to take point A,
And
mostly because
I
that
think
run from
learning
spawn is not very far for the spawn distances in this game make no sense to me, because like in Odin's Archive, brother, stop by the gas station and pick up some snacks on your way to the point from spawn. Like, I don't get the spawn
yeah,
distances in this game.
yeah. Eagsguard, I think, is the same kind of thing, right? Where it's like you've got like 5 different ways to get there. You've got, I mean, it's a mile. But this one definitely, I mean, but kind of again, it adds some spice, it adds some variety. I mean, it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's an all in, just go for it kind of map. And I think having that launch with the thing is almost like it's like they made it that way on purpose, right? Because you can almost just make that in one charge as the thing. You probably shouldn't, but you could. Um,
But they
you know,
do.
but they could, they can, and they do. And I have done it too. So no judgment there if that's your thing. But just make sure you're healer. Make sure your strategists are close by if you're doing
Compare the walk on offense to spawn on Central Park point A to the walk to point A from spawn on offense on is it Hall of Jalia or whatever, the Black Panther map,
Yeah, yeah,
Convergence
yeah. I
map.
mean, that's what it is. I thought it was Eagsgar, but it is Hollow Jolly. One of those Black Panther men.
Yeah.
That's I mean, it's insane. Um, apples to oranges.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the map. Don't get me wrong. And I think as the game evolves and changes, I think teams are going to come up with different approaches. I mean, Holojalia, I think their teams have figured out that there are different ways to approach that point A on that map, right? You got the wide right flank. You got up through the staircase, to the high ground over the left side of the point and stuff like that. So we're in what, day 5 of this map existing or whatever. Like, things will evolve and change. So I'm sure my thoughts on the map will change as well. But
Yeah,
I think
I think playing around with those there's something to those stairs too. Like there are those flank points off to the sides, and I think part of the reason that we were losing those games last night is that or at least that one game, you had the Moon Knight who was making use of those flank points. Go up the stairs. There's I know there are doorways, and then I'm not sure there may be kind of like a secondary level too where you can kind of get around. But we're still learning. It takes me some time to figure out my way around places too.
yeah, for sure. Well, let's just open it up to all of the changes with season 1.5. Obviously, like 20 characters, I think, got over 20 characters got different buffs and nerfs and changes and stuff. What are some of the changes that stuck out to you? You're a Cloak and Dagger player. We're both strategist players. How are you feeling about the strategist changes so far?
I mean, overall, I haven't noticed a lot of difference. Cloak and Dagger lost a couple seconds on her ult or something like that. I haven't really noticed it too much. Um, she's the main strategist that I play. I haven't really messed around with Mantis, who I probably spent the second most time with. But overall, I mean, I'm pretty satisfied across the board. Like we talked about it the other day, playing. It just kind of in general, we had some concerns. I think it feels good. I'm really liking outside of support. I haven't played him, but I've enjoyed. Like I'm never groaning now when I see a Captain America
Mm-hmm.
um, come in on the pick screen. Because that shield speed, the buffs they've given him, they seem like they've made all the difference. Because I'm seeing caps pop off now. So that's been nice. DPS feels good to me. I don't know. Can't think of any specifics really, but just in general, it seems like everything's a little more balanced than it was before, save for the Storm and Human Torch combo. But that's a whole different issue.
Yeah, I think that was one of those, like, you got to see it at scale to figure out how powerful it's going to be. How coordinated are people going to be with it? How willing are DPS players going to be to invest 2 ultimates into a fight like that, those sorts of things. The ult charge changes for strategists is the one area where I am feeling it. Like I do feel the change in the time it takes me to charge my ult on invis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it does make utilizing your ults a lot more valuable, right? And knowing when to utilize them. And that overall is just a full sweep buff to DPS in and of itself, right? Because now DPS players are able to get ults when support ults aren't online, and able to get more value out of their stuff too. So I think that's a fine change though, right? I don't think you should necessarily have a support ult every time a DPS ult comes up. Like I like when there's like a 4v3 fight and you're having to scrap it out and figure out who's going to win that. So I'm with you on the cap changes. I think those feel good. I think the Magneto damage changes feel really good too. I've seen a lot less Doctor Stranges now with the changes to his to his base health. Let's see who I need to just pull up the change log because I know that there's changes I'm forgetting about too. Let's see who else got some. Pull up this leak because that's what I got the easy notes for here. Let's see who else on the tank lineup here. That's really about it. I do think I've seen a lot more Venoms playing lately, and his faster ult charge feels really good. You know who I've seen like totally fall off the face of the planet is Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen a few of them pop in here and there, but yeah, you're right. Definitely a lot less of him. Is there a reason for that, do you think?
I mean, I know that there were some changes to like the way that the like magic field on his abilities worked, and I saw a big long post on Reddit asking for like the changes to be reverted because it like changes the entire way like his damage profile works and stuff like that. So like there's a reason that it works, but I'm not a Mr. Fantastic player, so I don't totally understand how all those changes impacted him. But yeah, I know that the mains that play him are not really happy. Have not seen Black Widow at all, really, since these changes. The changes for her didn't move the needle at all.
Yeah, I think I've seen maybe one, and it was brief. But yeah, I'm trying to think who if there's anybody else. Venom definitely, and there's a lot of fun stuff. I know some of the pro players that were playing in the Asia tournament this weekend, the Invitational, they were doing some interesting dive stuff, with Venom. So I think that ult change has probably helped a little bit too with some of that. Overall, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on, a lot of good stuff. All good, well, not all good stuff, but good stuff.
Well, and not just his ult change, but the change to just his regular dive. Like I don't know what the ability's called, but that knocks players inward rather than up also, so that creates more crowd control too. So I feel like when I'm playing with a really good Venom, that Venom can carry. Like that's a tank. If he knows when to get in and out of fights, he's really able to carry games. Adam Warlock changes feel incredible. Like the damage that he can output with his secondary fire is absolutely insane right now. Speaking of that Asia tournament, let's talk about that for a minute because we both watched a little bit of that. I've mostly watched the Euphoria versus Rivals matchup. Rivals tried to run a lot of the triple strategist stuff. They were playing on the current patch, so it was interesting to see them still trying to kind of hard force the triple strategist thing with the changes, and it wasn't quite working out as well for them as it was in previous patches there. But the thing had a ton of presence in the pick and ban phase. He was banned in almost every single one of the maps that I saw, and then the maps that he wasn't banned in, he was picked 100% of the time. So the thing is prevalent right now in the meta. But I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot of changes when it came to who was being picked. Still a lot of Cloak and Daggers, still a lot of Invisible Woman, still a lot of Mantis, still a lot of Hela, still a lot of Storm, like I don't know if that's a matter of just like comfort picks because the patch had only been out for a couple days, if it's a matter of, not enough changes being made in this patch or what have you, but yeah, I don't know. The meta seemed to be very similar. The EMEA and North America tournaments, I think, start this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how things evolve, having a week to kind of theory craft and scrim on these patches now to let things change and new things come to the surface.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, any other final thoughts about season 1.5? Is there anything glaring that you're like, man, I really want to see like this changed?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy. Just everything other than my current rank struggle right now. I'm pretty happy just in general with the game. I just enjoy it so much. It's so fun to be able to play as these characters. It's so fun. I kind of want. I don't have the time. I kind of want to dive into like the lore of the game, like not even the character lore, but like the specific lore to this little pocket of the Marvel universe. I mean, they give us a lot of that stuff. Even like if you miss events and things like that, you can go in and like purchase. Like I think I didn't play the winter event that was all based around Jeff the Land Shark, but you can go and like purchase that card, which I think comes with like some lore bits. If you have the completed one, so stuff like that I'm really into. I don't know if I'll pay money or my valuable crystals or whatever for it, but um, it's just got everything that I want really right now. And if I could just play with a team that has some damn sense, it would be just it would be fun 100% of the time. And I mean, it's still even when I'm miserable, like when my wife looks at me and she's like, "This game stresses you out too much." I'm like, "I'm not stressed. I'm having fun."
Yep.
But it's the kind of fun that comes from strong competition.
Yeah, I've had that exact same conversation with my wife as well. Uh, there's also like the 4 or 5 issue comic on the Unlimited app for Rivals.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that yet, but I want to. Also, I want to find a comic book store close by that carries it because I think I could frame a few of those suckers. They've got some alternative covers too that look just awesome.
Nice, yeah. I did. Speaking of a competent team, we're a little late to this conversation, but we're a little late to starting the show, being that it's our second episode. But I do want to get your thoughts on this. So, Seth, we all remember where we were at certain points in our lives. Very historic moments where we can all pinpoint where we were, what we were doing. And I remember where I was. I was standing outside, my wife shopping at a Michael's. I'm standing in the parking lot, on the phone with Larry Hunt, and I look at Twitter and I see Overwatch getting 222 roll Q lock. I thought, damn, it's finally happening. And Marvel Rivals, the game developers came out, this was several weeks ago, and said that they have no interest and no immediate plans or even future plans to add in any kind of a restrictive role queue into the game. I want to know, Seth, I think you had fallen out of Overwatch by the time 222 rolled around, or role queue rolled around.
Yeah, I had.
But what are your thoughts on the Rivals devs saying that they're not interested in bringing that to this game? Is that something that makes you happy? Makes you sad?
Yeah, I'm here for it. I think I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. I've said it somewhere. I'm all in. That's freedom. Like I think that. I mean, it is frustrating, definitely, when we have those teams where we have 4 healers in a comp match and 2 DPS. You know what I mean? But at the same time, kind of like we proved in those games, I don't know if proved is the right word, but whatever. You know, if you do your job and everybody's kind of on point, you can make anything work. You never probably played. I think I tried to get you and Larry to play that Gundam Overwatch clone that came out. I don't even remember what it was called. But you remember me trying to get you guys to play that?
I feel like I remember you asking about it. Yeah.
It kind of had the same thing, and I remember the developers and something that I read on Polygon or somewhere like that. They mentioned that you know, the people that made the game, they didn't want you to think so much about what role you were playing, so much as like I'm playing a character that I'm having fun as. And I think that that's kind of the spirit. I don't know if anybody said that kind of thing for this game, but I mean, it feels like that's the spirit of this game. You know, like you've got these characters that you know and love. You've got some that are either kind of newer or like kind of surprising. Who had heard of Jeff the Land Shark before? Is it just Jeff the Shark or is it Jeff the Land Shark? I
It's
think
Jeff
it's
the
Land
Land
Shark.
Shark. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure before I sound like an ass much more. But
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't
you've
we
got these
don't want
characters
to
you
we don't
love.
want to offend the land shark population.
His fans are legions now. But I don't know. It's just so much fun to play. And again, like if you're doing if you're doing it right, you can do anything. I was watching one of my I coach an esports team at the school where I work, and I was watching this kid play Hulk earlier today, and he was popping off. He was way too aggressive, I thought, but it was working. The healers were following him, so they were doing their job too. I mean, he was going around corners, doing all the things that frustrate me when I'm playing support, but did it. Everybody was doing their job, and I mean, they crushed. They crushed it. I mean, they played it way better than I ever could. So I mean, it's whatever works. You know what I mean? It's whatever you want to work and whatever you can make work, and that's what I think is so cool about not having that rule lock, and you know, just in general having the freedom to play it the way you want to.
Well, I've said this to you many times, Seth, and I'm going to say it on this podcast, and I'm sure I'll say it many times on this show moving forward. But I live by a simple philosophy in this game that it's better to do the dumb thing together than it is to do the smart thing by yourself, right? So, um, you know, and I think that applies 80% of the time, right? Sometimes you see somebody doing something dumb and you can let them go do the dumb thing by themselves. But if four of your teammates are going to go do the dumb thing, you should probably just go do the dumb thing with them and try to keep them alive while they do it, you know. But no, I agree. I At the time when Overwatch announced the 222 thing, I was like, finally, you know, I was a tank player, and I was sick of, you know, never having support players playing with me, and uh, I thought, man, this is really what I needed. But then you've got DPS players waiting in, you know, 10-minute queues to play games, and it ultimately ended up being kind of the death of Overwatch in a lot of ways, and it did end up being the death of my role in Overwatch because I was an off tank player, right? So they ended up switching to one tank, and so uh I like the idea that we're going to not do any kind of a role queue if it means that the devs are going to be focused on designing fun and engaging characters to play across all the roles. If you want to have players excited to play Vanguard and Strategist, you've got to design characters that are fun to play in those roles that appeal to DPS players and the like, right? So give me characters like Venom that have fun movement, you know. Give me characters like Adam Warlock that I can like have some fun damage output, you know, and do some more like passive healing kind of things. And you know, this is such a rich universe with a lot of different characters that you can do a lot of interesting and creative things with. And I think you can start to muddy the waters between some of these roles as well, and have some people that are kind of straddling the line between Vanguard and duelist, or strategist and duelist, and do some fun things there. You know, I think last week we were talking about like Beast as a potential like kind of hybrid like Vanguard strategist kind of thing. And you know, I think we can. Have you heard of the game Deadlock? Have we talked about Deadlock?
We have at some point. I don't remember a thing about it, but
So Deadlock is Valve's kind of hero shooter slash MOBA game that.
Oh, it's got that League of Legends thing kind of going for it too,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It's like a third person League of Legends deal where.
Or Smite, maybe even.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, it, and their whole thing is like all of the characters in the game have some ability to like restore their own health. So there's no need for like a support character in like this traditional sense that you have a healer that's rolling around. And the idea is just that they're kind of knocking down the walls of what it means to have these kind of traditional roles in games of like tank, DPS, and support. And I would love to see Marvel Rivals start to kind of play around with knocking those walls down. Maybe not in as aggressive a sense, but give me some characters that muddy the water between those two things, and let's start to see how creative we can get with this cast of characters. So
I mean they've got a little bit of that going on already. I think we've talked about like it may not be the best strategy, but like a DPS, a Jeff with some DPS. We've got some pretty strong support specialists who can do damage too. So I think it's not too far of a stretch to see that, like, we said, Beast or maybe like Carnage is kind of like a DPS slash support option. I don't know. A lot of potential, a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. Hopefully we never get 222. I was thinking about a bunch of things that Overwatch used to have that I hope we don't ever get in this game. 222 is a big one.
Loot boxes.
Loot boxes, baby. They're bringing back loot boxes in Overwatch too.
I know. That's why I bring it
up. But no. Season 1.5 is here, though, guys. I'm having fun. I think I've surpassed 175 hours in the game now, so on to 200. I'm close to getting Lord with Moon Knight. I don't know who should my next Lord be, Seth.
I mean, Moon Knight, you had some fun playing Mantis the other day. I think you should commit to Mantis a little bit more. But if you want to challenge yourself, maybe push tank a little bit. Maybe go for Magneto. I'm like 3/4 of the way. I'm not quite Centurion yet on Thor, but I kind of have that urge to push for him. Where I enjoy playing him a lot, but I kind of want to push for the Thing too, because he's got this. I don't know if you've looked at it, but
I haven't.
His Lord image is not great. It's not really epic, but he's got this cheesy ass smile, like this toothy grin, where he's just kind of like side eye smiling at you, and I feel like it's just cocky as shit. And I feel like that will be a lot of fun to see pop up on that pickup menu at the beginning of each match.
Hold on, I pulled it up.
Just a big ugly mug looking at you, cheesy smile. I love it. I hated it at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I kind of processed it. I was like, that's actually pretty good. And it's on. There he is. Look at him. Like there's not much to look at first, but the more you think of it, just look at that grin. Like, can you zoom in? It's subtle, but it's there.
I saw Human Torch's Lord picture and was very underwhelmed by it. It let's see, Human Torch Lord portrait. Have you seen Human Torches? Here's the comparison. Pull it up for you. It's from Reddit. My computer does not like me trying to go to different places on here. Can you see this?
Yeah, they've got to work on those. I mean, that's like the same thing.
Yeah. This looks just like. All right, now turn to the left for me.
And the Thing is almost like that, but that smile again, like it's subtle, but it's there, and I kind of love it. But that is something I think that they should be cognizant of, because people will pour tons of hours. I have kids at my school that are like, that's what they talk about, is when they're going to hit Lord on this character, or, oh, I just hit Lord, I just did this. And I mean, there's got to be something to work towards. That's the thing about these games, is that dopamine hit when you reach those milestones, and this game does a great job. You've got the different currencies. You've got the season pass. You've got the achievements, both the console achievements, but you've also got like the in-game achievements. Some of those kind of cross over, but there are way more in the game. And so if you're worried about getting those and getting rewards for them, and then the grind for Lord, and then the grind for rank, I mean, there's a lot there. But definitely like that Lord grind, I mean, you've got to pour at least 15, 20 hours into most characters before you're even there in the ballpark of getting that rank. So it should be worth it, I feel like, to get that beautiful portrait. But I don't know, who am I but a man.
Yeah, I should get a personal cameo from Invisible Woman. She should show up to my house.
Hey, baby.
All right, man. Well, this was a good episode. Let's end it out by talking about what we're trying to accomplish in the game this week, Seth. When we come back to this show next week, what do you hope to be able to say? I did this in Marvel Rivals this week.
I feel like I hit Plat 3 like the day after we did the show, and I'm still there. So I want to say I want to be a diamond by next week, but that seems like a tough stretch for how much I'm playing right now. So I want to be Plat 1. Let's go Plat 1 by the time that this game or that this show comes out next week.
All right, cool. All right, and I want to be firmly in diamond, and I want to get Lord on Moon Knight. I want to have my Lord on Moon Knight. So those are my two goals. Next week we will have more to talk about. We will also be debuting a fun new game called Did This Comp Win?, where we will be showing you a strange comp that we played with in competitive, and Seth will be guessing, did we win that match? So tune in next week, guys. We will be having a brand new episode of Rival Banter. Seth, as always, thanks for hanging out with me today. I love you, buddy, and I hope you have a wonderful week in Rivals.
Love you, buddy. I'll be right there with you for most of that week. But
That's true. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. And wherever you're listening to us, make sure you're following us, subscribe, leave us a review, please. 5 stars. And
please.
Yeah, may the climb be ever good to you this week. And we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Climb on, suckers.